As I saw the first names drop in the reshuffle, particularly Ken Clarke's departure, I thought this is looking very much like a shuffle to the right. And I wrote that quite quickly and I thought, is this just a rather Guardian Towers old-fashioned way of looking at things? It's certainly how it seemed to me. But this morning I get up and see that the Daily Mail, the sober heads at the Financial Times, and everyone seems to agree it is a straightforward move to the right. And you can look from prisons to the environment to even one or two of the social issues. It's all pushing in the same direction.
Let me explain what this reshuffle is all about. It is not that there are two economic departments in our country, the Treasury and Business. I want every single department to be about the economy. I want the Transport Department building roads. I want the Communities Department building houses. I want the Culture Department rolling out broadband. I want the Agriculture Department backing British food. This is a government that means business, and we've got the team to deliver it.
Well, I think actually probably the strongest outcome from yesterday was the end of the Conservative modernisation project. There were three key strands to that: the environment, the representativeness of the party for women, minorities and other groups who didn't feel traditionally Tories, and that the Conservative Party was a party you could trust with public services, and particularly the NHS. They'd obviously lost a lot of ground on the NHS already. I don't think the appointment of Jeremy Hunt will do anything to reassure people that the NHS is safe in the hands of the Conservatives, and he's got a massive task to even kill it off as a story. A subject we can return to is the reshuffle is an absolute disaster for the environment. I think George Monbiot has called it a declaration of war on the environment, which is, for once, much as I love George, not an exaggeration. And the representation of minorities and people who would not feel traditionally Conservative, in the Cabinet at least, is slightly worse, not better, than it was before.
Mr. Speaker, we saw a reshuffle yesterday. He brought back the member for Yeovil, who'd been sacked. He promoted the Culture Secretary, who should have been sacked. And he left in place the part-time Chancellor that the whole country knows should be sacked. It's the same old faces, the same old policies, a no-change reshuffle.
Obviously, most of the country isn't going to be obsessed with what this reshuffle did. They're not obsessed with any reshuffle, and particularly not one that leaves the big players in place at the Treasury and Number 10 and as Deputy Prime Minister. But there are potentially quite important effects on a few policy areas which over time voters will notice. So one of them's coming into the limelight today is obviously Heathrow. Does the removal of Justin Greening mean that we're now back on for the option of Heathrow expansion? The Mayor of London seems to think so.
A U-turn is in progress and that they want to build a third runway at Heathrow. And all the pressure from businesses to do the third runway. That's where the Treasury seems to be focusing its hopes. I think that is a profound mistake.
Even further down the line, because of some junior ministerial reshuffling, there's no longer a Liberal Democrat against Trident in the Ministry of Defence. Nick Harvey has gone, and so that is now, as far as I know, a Liberal Democrat free department closing down the Trident argument, or so it might seem. So lots of junior ministers shuffling around might mean people not making cases on the Liberal Democrat side in a number of fairly high profile areas.
The big question that nobody can answer about the reshuffle until it's had some time to bed in is whether the change of personnel is going to do anything about the government's ability to deliver. They keep announcing initiatives, particularly ones to get the economy going, whether it's house building, road building, jobs initiatives, which perhaps have been more high profile. And so far, almost nothing has actually happened literally on the ground. And the party's reputation for incompetence has been a big issue for it in the last year. And I think that if the reshuffle could achieve anything, it's not going to achieve very much on a big political stage, except perhaps set the Conservatives up for the next election within their own party. But if it's going to achieve anything for the country as a whole, it should be looking to try and make them better at delivering on what they say they're going to do.